when you look at that. You can't read it any other way. Like
that is true. It's got like a Masters of the Universe kind of vibe to it.
Yeah,
mixed with like Star Wars.
It's the power of comic lettering.
I'm finding it's hard to stack type when you're doing something like this and showing different kinds of fonts, because I want to show as much as I can just from this. So we'll see what it ends up looking like.
That's tough. It's like the designer and you like must die a little bit where you're like, I have to show a bunch of fonts, but I'm supposed to limit it to like 2 or 3. What do I do? We're live streaming. So welcome to my live stream. And we did a really cool episode of Artcasters that I really highly recommend everybody check out. Not that you need me to guide you guys to Scott's much larger YouTube channel, but in case you guys are not following Scott, the 3 followers that I have, please go check out Scott's Artcasters and his channel and all that. But we had Corey on as a guest, and maybe we can talk about that too, because I almost feel like we should just have Corey be like one of our hosts, because he's pretty much an Artcaster. But anyhow, so go check that out, and then this is just kind of like our after party hanging out thingy mabop, and Gary is joining us in the chats.
Hey.
I should, you know what, I'm gonna invite Gary.
Gary should just jump on with us.
Yeah,
we'll see how those windows change. I finally got it to
where
where
I have to reformat my window.
That's right. I can go full screen. I don't have to share this. This is the first time I've ever got it where I'm like with you guys where I got it set up like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, are you doing? Yeah, you're doing the OBS virtual camera too.
Yeah. Oh, sweet. Look at all of us with our technology. It's crazy.
But I can switch full screen if we can get Gary on.
Somehow.
I just sent it to him and said, if you want to join. So Gary, in the Facebook Messenger, I sent you a link if you want to hop on. If you're like otherwise disposed, I can totally understand that too. Yeah, that's cool, dude. So that's pretty awesome. We're getting a like sneak peek of the awesome lettering. And Scott is really good at lettering. I think that was actually before I knew you, like back when we were doing BIPT, and I think we looked at your portfolio and stuff long ago, like almost a decade ago. But I remember just being really struck. Like the first thing that struck me was like, wow, this dude's color use and lettering is really good. You know?
Yeah, I don't think my coloring, but I don't know. I'm getting good. I think I'm amazed by your lettering. Like the one that I was talking to Corey earlier about showcasing some samples, some examples in this course of I was asking about Will Eisner and if it's considered review or whatever, if I can use a sample of his stuff, and I was going to use a sample of Winsor McKay, which is in the public domain now, but then I might get some additional stuff. I was thinking maybe I might show like the lettering you did on the Young and the Dead thing you did for me, or maybe just I guess I'd have to find, if I end up doing that, I got to figure out where it would fit in there if I use other examples. But cool, like if I use a sample from your book, I don't know if you have to. You still own the copyright and everything. They're just publishing it, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind, and if I get in deep water for it, I'll get in deep water for it. But here you go. I mean, this will be on my YouTube channel, so you have recorded proof that I let you use it. Watch, it just ends up being 2 stories reprinted.
No, it's like Scott. If I do use it, I'll tell you what I'm going to use. Like
that would be hilarious, though. But I don't think a few.
But it's already kind of written, so I don't know if I have a place for it. But it would be cool to kind of have some examples.
So Diana Schutz from Dark Horse teaches a class at like oh my gosh, I'm gonna blank out on what it's called, but it's like the Portland State University. She teaches a comics history course, and she's teaching one that's focusing specifically on autobio.
Mhm.
And she asked if like she could teach mine, and I gave her permission because
cool.
I'm like, it's not gonna hurt to have like a legendary editor or like Scott, like to have you like be like, hey, this is good lettering to people who are looking. That's a win-win, like.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, and it'll be exposure for the book, so that's great.
But she asked you. She didn't just include it?
Well, so she asked, but I did give her a copy because she helped me out. Like, this is years ago, but I used to email her. We had like a correspondence because we just got along and she liked my work and she wanted to see what I was working on. And when I was conceiving 2 stories, she gave me like 3. It was like right when I was ending Jacob's Apartment and then coming up with what I was going to do for 2 stories. She gave me like some really solid advice. Helped me like get over my talking head thing.
Cool.
And just gave me a lot of encouragement, which was really cool. So I just felt like I kind of owed her a copy because it was like, like.
Oh yeah. No, I think giving her a copy is a great idea. I'm mostly curious.
I'm a fan of hers, so I'm like, if she,
I was mostly curious, like, on how that worked. I don't actually know how that worked with textbooks and stuff.
Yeah, so I think in her case, I don't know either, but I do think she's going to photocopy a section of the story for like a packet, and I was like, I'll take the heat. Yes.
Okay,
like,
I get you. Yeah.
So yeah, that was like, to me, like anything like that, I usually am down for.
Oh yeah.
Design annuals work like that too. They rarely compensate you for your design annual. They'll just kind of be like, hey, we have like there's one called Modern Vintage Illustration years ago that was like, can we like feature like 3 of your books? And I saw the other artists in it and I'm like, yes. Like, because it was like putting me next to like people I'm like nowhere near, but I was like, anybody who's like at a Barnes and Noble and picks that up and is like, like that just makes me look good. So
oh yeah,
I'm not going to say no to looking good.
I was going to say that's never happened to me, but I just remembered a time that it happened to me. This was a weird one, and I wouldn't recommend going about it this way. But I did some pixel art at one point. I just thought it'd be fun to do pixel art. So I was doing pixelated versions of things. And
pixel art's super fun.
Oh, it's so fun. Yeah.
And you're really good at it. Like that pixel portrait you did was really cool.
Oh yeah, thanks for Master of One podcast. Those guys were cool. So I did it and I just put it out there and I was like, whatever. I got a call like Saturday morning, which is like the worst time to talk to me because I'm like, I usually stay up really late working on stuff because I don't have to get up on Saturdays.
Yeah.
All right. Somebody calls me Saturday morning and they were like, hey, I noticed your pixel art of R2D2. I would like to turn that into a quilt pattern. Is that okay?
Awesome.
And I was like, sure. So if you look up R2D2 quilt pattern, you will see hundreds of different people that have sewn my pixel art into a quilt.
Dude, that's so awesome.
It's weird. And but then somebody else grabbed like a different thing that I did. I can't remember what it was. I'm blanking on what but I just did this dumb little thing and it showed up on Kickstarter as like part of the book cover.
Oh, that's not good.
I was like, what is this? That's weird. And so I was kind of just watching it just to see what would happen. And it funded huge. And then immediately upon it funding, I got an email. And the email was like, hey, I'd like to hire you to do some pixel art for the book cover. And I was like, yeah, you already stole stuff. But anyway, he paid me £300 sterling to do a thing for it, and I was like, okay, well, I guess that's cool. But it was a weird way of going about it.
Yeah, it's a really weird way. Yeah, I've had that in spades because, like, at the peak of Threadless, it was like almost a daily occurrence where I would have to send a cease and desist for like 2 years.
Yeah.
For like 2 years. Like I had a cut and pasted cease and desist letter. And then I had at the time, like I would occasionally like reach out to the guy who used to run Alternative Comics because he's a lawyer in Florida. And so I'd have him like send a scare letter if they didn't pull it down, and like for free, which was amazing. But he's an actual lawyer, so he'd be like, "I'm a lawyer," and he'd like, but yeah, I remember some weird ones where I had to call a dude in Australia, and he's like, "No, I drew it," and I'm like, "Dude, I'm looking at the art on this T-shirt you're selling, and it's like literally got pixelated patterns from where you live traced it, like that you didn't draw it." And he's like, "Well, how would you know?" And I'm like, "Because I drew it, dude. Like
I'm the one who drew it.
Yeah." And I was like, but yeah, so but I will say when it happens in good faith, like I remember the Captain Obvious, like you can look that up on, they used to make these cakes.
Yeah.
Like they made a cake out of Captain Obvious design. Like, and there were like 4 of them, like 4 different Captain Obvious cakes. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
Here's a crocheted version of that.
Ooh, show it.
It's on.
Yeah, I didn't even know you. I didn't even remember you doing anything like that.
Dude, that's badass.
There's a quilted version. There's a crocheted version.
That is so rad. I want that quilt. Make me that quilt, Corey. Learn how to quilt.
I don't want to do that. This is literally something I did back when I was on. Here's another one. This one's mine as well. Literally something I did when I was on DeviantArt back when I was like you. The funny thing, Josh, is you and I were on Threadless at the same time, except I sucked back then.
Nah.
No, I was awful.
I was on Threadless too, but I'd never got anything chosen.
Yeah, I got thrashed every time I put something up. Like the community was like, "You are awful. Why are you doing that?" But yeah, anyway. There used to be a picture. I should have saved it. There used to be a picture of a guy that made one that was like huge, and he held it on the outside of his house to take a picture of it because it was so big. Anyway, yeah, it's coming up less and less now. But it used to be when you searched R2D2 quilt, like mine was the only one that would come up.
Yeah, those are such fun moments. I don't know. I think the biggest thing similar to that, like the coolest thing that ever happened with my art that I was unaware of, was the IT crowd. That was like the coolest thing for like my art being repurposed. And it's like on an entire 2 seasons on the set. And so it's like, that's cool.
Which one was it, Josh?
Cliche Villains.
Okay,
so it's like, it's literally in their IT room.
Yeah.
And it's like right next to like Daniel Klaus posters. And I was like, how did that happen? I'm sure they reached out,
that, or do they, or how does that work?
I think Threadless at that time, and it was really a smart move. I think they actually contracted with a lot of, I think they made it really well known that they wouldn't be litigious about that kind of thing for TV shows.
Yeah.
And that helped drive shirt sales, right?
Yeah.
Because
I would think so.
Yeah. So like, what was the show that used to wear that really crappy one that's supposed to be about geeks, but it's really just fake
Big Bang
geeks.
Theory.
Yeah.
my dad keeps telling, "Oh, you should watch that. You like that kind of stuff."
They talk about
my dad does too, and it would break my heart to tell him it's trash.
I love that show so much. That's great.
I mean, some people like it. But.
It's just funny. You don't have to. You guys can all hate it. Just because I like it doesn't mean you have to pretend like you don't hate it.
I just don't like that it's like, here, nerds, here's a show for you. And I'm like, no, it's not. This is not a show for us.
That's why it bothers me.
I don't think it's a show. I don't think it's a show for nerds. I think it's a show for people who want to think that they're learning about nerds.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, see, they are strange. I knew it.
See these silly nerds and their silly nerd jokes. Yeah, I know.
Because the one
actual nerd, I'm bothered by it.
Yeah. No, I'm not, because I just think it's funny. But like the thing that I enjoy about it is they are every kind of nerd.
Yeah.
It's like this impossible thing where they're into every fandom.
Yeah.
They're into every
Yeah.
like anything that could be called like pop culture or nerd culture or anything. They're like super into it. I'm like, I don't know a single person that exists like that.
No.
there's not a person out there who likes Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, Firefly, and physics, and what like it's every little thing that they could possibly be into.
Yeah, see, the thing that annoys me is I'm super into all those things, except that I suck at physics. But still, it's like I'm interested in physics. I like hearing about physics. I like all those things. I like all the things they talk about. I just didn't like how it placated and seemed like, I don't know. It just, I shouldn't crap talk it because it was probably really hard to get to air, and I'm sure like a lot of the actors are good and stuff like that. I also tend to like really shy away from like formulaic sitcoms, but then again, I like love Seinfeld. So I don't know.
Oh man, I'm so sick of Seinfeld. My in-laws are really into Seinfeld.
The TV show?
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. I like now I'm gonna blank out on his name, but the Curb Your Enthusiasm dude.
Larry David.
Yeah, like he hits a level of funny. I don't know what it is for me. The humor of somebody with like a bad temper. And it's been like this since I was a kid. Like I'd watch like Mickey Mouse cartoons, like the classic ones. Anytime it was like a Donald Duck one, I was just like, I love like the humor is just always on point because he's so set up for failure, but he's so headstrong and can't control his temper. And like to me, Curb Your Enthusiasm's like adult Donald Duck. Like it's just he writes himself into these impossible scenarios where everything's going to be awkward and terrible and go horribly, and it's just so fun to watch the whole thing just draw out and collapse. I don't know.
No, I agree.
No, I'm the same way.
But my wife hates that kind of humor. Like she doesn't hate it, she kind of gets it, but she like feels like it's kind of mean-spirited and stuff. And she tends to be more into like slapstick humor, So it's like it's interesting how everybody's taste in humor kind of shift, I don't know.
It's almost like there's different people in the world.
Yeah.
I've heard about them, but I'm not convinced.
Aren't there? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like these are just shadows on a wall and we're in a cave.
A little bizarre to think that not everything was made for me. That's one of my biggest arguments against like all the people that get pissed off when there's a black superhero or somebody turns into a woman or whatever. It's like, and it's like all this stuff. I'm like, have you not realized yet in your life that not literally everything is made for you? Like some things are made. Maybe you're not the audience for that.
Yeah.
Like it's okay. It's okay to not be the audience for something. It's fine. It's okay. Like I hate certain types of television commercials, and I, as an advertising professor, because I used to teach advertising, I had to remind myself, I'm not the audience for feminine hygiene commercials. So
yep.
I can hate that, and it can still be a good commercial. That's okay.
Although there are sometimes. All right, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, that's a very specific example. The hating feminine hygiene commercials.
Specifically, they're very bad at trying to use euphemism to discuss things that people find hard to discuss. You ever get that not so fresh feeling?
Right.
What are we talking about right now, Mom? Because this is a weird question to ask.
I like toilet paper commercials where they're like showing how soft it is by rubbing it on their face.
Yeah.
Right.
That's kind of and we just all sort of go with that.
And we're like, that makes sense. I
guess it's better than the alternative, though.
It is better than the alternative. I'm not advocating for the alternative.
You would prefer the cartoon bears to like be anatomically correct?
Yeah. I mean, if those are the choices, yes.
Yeah, my least favorite commercials are probably like Celexa and like antidepressant commercials where it's just like, somebody running through a field and like I don't know. There's something about those ads that
there's one on that's been running on Hulu for the past couple of months. It is the worst antidepressant ad I've ever seen. Like It's so bad because they've completely gone away from like, the like weird metaphors that don't make sense, and they're just showing this woman being sad, but she's a horrible actress. and it's like it's got the like the like know-it-all omnipotent narrator, that's asking all these questions and stuff. It's like, do you feel like you can't participate in your children's lives or whatever? And she's just like trying so hard to look sad while like people are happy around her. And then I can't remember, but there's something about the ending where she's supposed to be happy. And I just think she doesn't have the ability to emote on camera because she doesn't look happy either. She's like a non-emotion that isn't sad or happy. And so like there's no before and after. There's just her not acting. It's the worst. I'm like, I wish you were on a windsurfing board in a field of wheat right now, because it's so much better than what's going on right now. 30 seconds I'll never get back of watching you not act sad. Anyway.
Dude, yeah, I don't know. There's like a humor to it, but what's weird is I don't really see a lot of commercials anymore because most of what I watch is like online now. And so like it's like most of the commercials I see last about 2 seconds till I hit skip ad.
Right.
Yeah, I don't really. Yeah, and then I mostly get my news from like podcasts. So those commercials are always weird, where it's like, the host. It is effective though, because like if I'm driving, I'm not gonna like grab my phone and like skip forward to like ignore the commercial, You
don't have the 30-second skip button?
I do, but I don't want to hit it when I'm driving. I'd rather just listen to it. But it depends.
I find it entertaining that our entire society built around content is based on like advertising paying for things, and literally everyone's goal is to like not listen to the ad. Like they will do everything they possibly can to like not listen to the ad. See, Mama Soto is telling me not to rag on feminine hygiene commercials, and now I'm wondering if the use of some of those words is a play on words.
And I just want to highlight that Mama Soto showing up makes this like, we've got Frank, we've got Mama Soto, we have Night Gang. We just need Jake to show up, and it's pretty much Night Gang is happening, you guys.
What is Night Gang? Tell me about Night Gang.
So this is like, because I stream really like at absurd times.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
We have this inside joke, the people who show up in the chats and myself and Corey and stuff, where it's like, we just started calling it Night Gang.
Well, and like Ronnie's going to show up getting ready for work probably in an hour or two.
Yeah, he'll like show up like right before work. It's interesting. It's like a little crew that we all kind of hang out and draw and stuff.
He told me he just got shot number 2 and he was a little knocked down today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
shot
rough.
One the other day. I was really excited.
Dude, very good news.
They finally called me.
Which one?
Moderna.
Nice. So yeah, like now we can talk about IBM and Macintosh. And like now we can reveal what we've all been thinking.
Right.
What about? Oh my gosh! I have dug myself into the biggest hole. I have no idea what to do with this now. I have hundreds of layers.
Oh, I was so worried that was connected to the vaccine. I'm like, is there something you haven't like? Okay.
Oh no.
Okay. It's all good news. That's good.
I feel like I've built one of Scott's like digital download products where you can build whatever you want out of it. But now I have no plan. I had no plan here, and now it's kicking. It's coming. The chickens are coming home to roost.
Yeah. Yeah, those are some roosting chickens there.
Oh,
I thought you had kind of a map for it, though. I thought you had that like transitionary bit.
Oh no, I know what I'm doing. I just don't know. I know what I'm doing. I just don't know where to place these pieces. I don't want to storyboard this. I just want to fly by them at the seat of my pants. I do not want to do real work.
Yeah, but sometimes that ends up being more work. Like, case in point, like when you're recording music, which I do a terrible job at, but it's like when you're recording it though, if like you can kind of fly by the seat of your pants. Like the way I write songs for this thing I'm recording, I haven't written these songs. So I'll just like noodle around on my guitar and be like, oh, that'll work for a verse. And then I track the verse, right? And I'll be like, well, maybe this could work for like a transition, you know? So you can do it on the fly, but when you're tracking it, it's like if you're not a little methodical with it, you can end up in a big hole.
I think I found that space.
I do think there's room for play in animation though, because I have built animations where I just would do it to the time of the song and just be like, oh, okay, like this, I'll just add this thing here. You know?
Okay, watching your animations is so annoying because you did those so fast.
Did I? I don't
You
think I did.
You're like, I have no idea how to animate anything. And then like 5 minutes later, you're like, I did 4 music videos this month. Because you were doing a music video a week.
Yeah, till I had to do my book.
Right, but
I still have like one I really wanted to do, and just
it was still incredibly fast.
Gary, have you ever messed with animation?
I have.
So I would imagine at your work you probably have to do a little bit of that, right?
A little bit. Yeah, that's a little different. Actually, not I guess in the sense that you're probably thinking of at my work. At my work, it's usually 3D. So it's like crime scenes and victim positions and stuff like that. But before that, I did have a brief, well, it wasn't too brief actually. It was probably about 8 months working on, I was the art guy on an indie video game that never came out. But it was all, I was doing everything. I was doing the background tiles. I was doing hand animation, like hand-drawn animation for all the characters. And it was a lot of fun. It was, and it was a bummer it never came out because while I would never throw that stuff in a portfolio or anything, I was really proud of some of it. You know, I felt like some of it looked pretty cool, pretty legit. Like I wanted to see it in a video game. But the whole thing fell apart. And I remember I commiserated a lot with the music guy because we were both, by our sort of self-important artist perspective, the most productive, most committed members of the team. And like everyone else was flaking out, the engineers and the programmer, all these people. But like the creatives, ironically, we were the ones that were like going all the way and putting all sorts of time into it. He had the full soundtrack for this game done and it was fantastic. Like I had half the game's worth of art done.
Wow.
But anyway, there was that. And then before that, I did a lot of Flash animation back in the day, which has totally paid off. I actually took classes in Flash, which again, like just, you know, I might as well, to quote George Costanza, I could have just flushed my money down the toilet. But
no, I bet everything you know would translate really easily into Adobe Animate because they just basically repackaged Flash.
Is it? See, I've never even looked at it. It was almost like a bad breakup where I was like, well, I'm done with this forever, you know? And then when I did the video game, that was all hand animation and stuff and cells and, you know, so it was like, oh, well, that's different. But like, I haven't screwed around with any program since Flash.
Yeah. So here's what happened because I talked to the chief engineer over that project. I was at Adobe Max and he was giving a presentation.
Wait. I gotta have you hold that thought because we have like 2 things. One, Corey, what's the gizmo?
Oh, this is an animation I'm working on for Wacom where you're gonna have, I don't know why I've done this now that I've started it, but basically there's gonna be I'm gonna take some footage of my eye blinking and looking around. That sounds really weird. That's going to be in all the lenses. And then about every 3 or 4 seconds, it's going to like transform into a different concoction. So it'll be vintage cameras and weird robot looking things. And then at one point in time, it'll be a Cintiq. And then it'll might transition into like a television or a heads up display or something.
Nice.
I don't have a plan which I'm struggling with right now. This is the part of production where I beat my head against a wall for a couple hours and nothing happens.
Okay, so there's two more things in chat. I just want to make sure we're engaging with people too. So a bunch of Night Gang call outs, which is rad. And then we also have Frank was saying Gary is CSI, which I actually responded with he kind of is. Like
Kind of.
kind of. Yeah, it's similar.
Similar, yeah.
Probably a lot of similar things. Yeah.
I went to school to do real CSI, like actually like crime scene investigation, and fortunately thought better of it. So now I do. I always struggle with the easiest way. Basically, I create any kind of visual aid you would show in a criminal trial, Sal. So like animations, diagrams, flow charts, whatever, any kind of graphic, anything that we would need to make. That would be something I would make.
Which is cool because it sounds like there's probably quite a variety of things you're asked to do, and sometimes. Yeah, you probably learn new things all the time, honestly.
All the time, yeah. And it keeps it very fresh because even if it's something you've done before, like an anatomical diagram or something, they're all bespoke for the case. So you're drawing something specific for that case. So like maybe you've drawn anatomical diagrams before of like, the liver or the blood vessels in the neck or something. Well, this time you got to do a forearm, and then 2 weeks from now you might have to do the lungs and heart. Like it's always different. So
yeah, that's cool. All right, so Corey, what were you were saying something before I cut you off about meeting the chief animator or the chief executive, I guess,
chief software engineer that ran the team.
Okay,
transitioning Flash to Adobe Animate. What they claimed they were doing. So there's this little known program that Adobe did kind of as a skunkworks thing called Edge Animate, and it was legit the coolest animation program I've ever used.
Really?
It was so intuitive because they built it from scratch. Like most software that we use is like this weird like legacy thing that's kind of just mutated over the years, and we all have Stockholm syndrome because we're like don't realize how horrible the UI is. We've just gotten used to it, you know. And there's weird stuff like Adobe can't get all the keystrokes to line up between their different pieces of software because there's tens of thousands of people that have fallen in love with this weird way of doing it, and if they changed it, everybody would like revolt and mutiny. So that's what's going on. And then they were like, hey, I bet we could make animation really easy. And so they built Edge Animate, and it was slick. I learned it in 2 days. Wow. And it spit out like JavaScript and HTML5 animation, and the script coding for it was housed on the Adobe servers. And so it was this really lightweight web application for animation that didn't involve Flash. So anyway, it was really cool, and I built. Oh, I've got a website that's up that it's still built. Let me do this while I'm talking about it. So anyway, I fell in love with this. Let's see. Okay.
And then Mama Soto was saying, "I remember Edge."
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm glad.
She was also saying, "I suck at morphing in animation, but I'm basic." So
sometimes I wonder if I'm like crazy and I invent some of these memories, but it's nice to hear that other people have experienced this thing.
Just to bring you guys back in time to this era when Flash was kind of king too. It's like I want to really remind people of Homestar Runner and Trogdor the Dragon.
Yes.
So,
that'll bring you back to when that was dominating the universe. And if you guys haven't heard of Trogdor, go look up Trogdor and then watch the stream again.
Mr. Salad Fingers. What about Mr. Salad Fingers? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yes. Chef's kiss for Mr. Salad Fingers.
So anyway, so they came up with this thing, and it integrated with like text editors, and so you could actually go in and animate something, or you could build. This is too nitty gritty. Anyway, CSS and HTML, right? You could go in and find a div that had been tagged in CSS and animate that, and the code would inject into a line of CSS and animate on the fly in that web page because it would access the script on Adobe servers. It was inline animation.
I probably need to go on now, Dad.
So anyway, all of that was really, really cool, and it was this really slick program. I really liked it. And then they said that they were discontinuing it. They're like, we're getting rid of it. We're discontinuing it. Blah 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 blah. So everything that you just saw, I did all of this in Edge Animate.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so it's great, and it's fast too. Anyway, and they said what we're going to do is we're going to take the best of Edge Animate and the best of Adobe Flash, which used to be Macromedia Flash, and we're going to build this brand new piece of software called Adobe Animate. And it'll be, at the time it was like Animate CC, because Creative Cloud was still, they were still like naming them, right? And so so they released Animate, and it was just a repackaged version of Flash that had the ability to export HTML5. And so they completely killed this beautifully built piece of software, and then just took like one of the kind of incidental parts of it that it spits out code and injected that into this like whitewashed white label rebrand of Flash, because Flash had gotten a bad name because of like Swifts are like really problematic on the internet because you can like Trojan horse people and stuff with them. So it's like not a good thing that they're on the internet. So, but like they just replaced Swifts with HTML5, but everything about Flash stayed exactly the same. All of the weird stuff that doesn't make sense to me as somebody who animates in After Effects, like you have to like add keyframes before you can add keyframes or something. Like I tried to use it and I was like, why doesn't it just do it? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Nothing about Flash makes any sense to me, just because I learned a different way, and so my brain has been like wired to like not understand how to animate in Flash. But like basically I told this guy, I made a video. I knew I was going to meet him, and I was like, hey, this is the type of nerd I am. I'm not the type of nerd to argue about Firefly, but I am the type of nerd to know that I'm going to meet a software engineer at a conference. So I make a video explaining why they're doing something wrong. And so I did like a side-by-side comparison of their beta version of Animate and what they did wrong with the UI, and compared that to what they were doing right with Edge Animate. Anyway, he was like, this is amazing. Can I invite you to be part of like the like behind the scenes team that like tests stuff out? And I was like, sure, how much does that pay? And they're like, oh no, it's just a group of people that like tell us what's going on. I'm like, oh, you just want me to work for free for you? No, I have a job and a life and a family and things to do. So I still get emails from that guy's team every once in a while of like updating us on what's going on behind the scenes. But like that's my, so long story short, Gary.
Yes.
Flash still exists. It's still there for you.
It's still sort of there. I don't know if I'm ready to take Flash back after it broke my heart. I don't know.
I would personally, I'd jump into After Effects, but
I feel like I would move on to something. I don't know. But
quit trying to recruit my graphic novelists over here.
I'm
trying to keep people in the comics camp.
But Josh, did you know that those images can move?
Don't remind me. I do get it though. It is addictive when you are able to do it, because it is fun to see things move. And there's a little bit of it that's like it's almost like the addiction. Like I enjoy like mixing audio sometimes, like using GarageBand and stuff, because it's fun to mess with levels and like splice and sample, and like being able to do that with art is almost like too addictive. I need to steer clear of it when I can.
Just for my channel, it's nothing fancy, but just that little bit of editing, I've started to kind of really enjoy editing video. Like that's kind of it is sort of fun.
Yeah,
it's stupidly time consuming though.
It can be if you do it terribly like I do. It's not time consuming at all. But if I really wanted to do it like super well, then yeah, it would be like eating time. Like if I did stuff like Scott, like where Scott has like these beautifully edited videos, or you, Gary, like you do a really good job actually with editing.
Well, thank
or
you.
Corey, when you edit, it is good. Corey just automates everything.
Or the rare times when you take the time to not look like garbage, you also are good.
Well, no, like Corey's like I guess the point is like you've kind of gotten it down to a system where you don't need as much editing because you are just have made your live stream so slick, like and your stream's so slick that you don't need as much editing, which is really smart. And
that's a change I made between the videos for 1975 and the videos for 97. If you look at the 75 videos, I was just stupid about it because I'd never really done it. So I would sit down and I would just basically, I would have a topic and I would basically free associate for 2 hours on the camera and then try to cut it down to something like 45 minutes. So you can see there's like a gazillion little cuts, you know, throughout this whole video. With 97, I was like that. I mean, that's where you'll get lost editing a video.
Oh, yeah.
So with
especially
97,
if you start taking out it's like
oh awful. Yeah, and try to clean up like the garbage that was just sort of pouring out of your mouth in a disorganized way. You're trying to make a coherent thought out of it. So like in 97, I went in usually with an outline at least for every video. So it's like I know the basic things I want to talk about. I'm going to stay on target, and so there had to be fewer cuts, and that allowed me to play more with like weird transitions and adding in graphics and having a little more fun with it. But
it's awesome. I was thinking about adding like a glitter effect on the live streams, but I don't know how to do that. Could we do that, Corey? Could we make the live stream just for like one live stream? Can you think of a way we could make it look like a MySpace video? I would love that if it looked like, you know what I'm talking about by MySpace, right? Like those bad GIFs people would post with like the glitter.
Yeah.
There's got to be a way.
Can we do like an Instagram filter where we have kind of bigger eyes and rosy cheeks? Like, is that a thing?
I think that is a thing.
Some of that you can do on Character Animator, Adobe Character Animator. Because Adobe Character Animator is a live animation software. So it tracks your facial movements and stuff. So if you were to go in and you took a picture of your face and then did like the liquefy tool in Photoshop, you could map that over a character and it would react. Not in the same way that Instagram or TikTok does it, but it would be a similar effect.
Dude, I have actually seen streamers on Twitch that do that. It's like a thing where they'll just have like an anime character that is rigged to it. That'll just, the mouth will open. And it's like the weirdest thing but they have like mass subscribers because they're just like, I don't know. It is a cool technology, but
I just had an idea. I'm going to remove myself for a minute.
Oh, Corey has some rigged characters, so he could come back. He's going to come back as an animated character.
Oh, no.
It. So Scott, how's your thing coming?
Slow. I just got to play around with it because I'm not feeling it yet. I don't know. What do you guys? Can you see that? I mean, I'm not sure. I'm trying to get a variety. I'm trying to get a variety of different types of lettering in here, but I don't know if they're too dissimilar or they're too the same, or I don't know. I'm still. I'm not sure if I like the lettering part of it. I like part of it, but I don't know. So I don't know. I'm going to continue to play around with it.
I think it's heading in a good direction.
Yeah, when I was on that phone call, my girlfriend was calling to let me know that she got an appointment for me to get my vaccination. So
hell yeah.
Yeah, that's
good. Is that your first?
Yeah. It's because she ended up getting them. She was like doing really good. Like she got them for my dad and everything. And then when it opened up for us, it was like totally booked. And you know, even my kids got their first one. So I was like, oh man, when am I gonna get mine? But yeah, she just found an appointment, which is good. At least I'll have some protection if I end up going to Florida. You know.
Yeah, you're gonna need it. If you're going to Florida, you should also get some other injections. Like, just make sure you're all injected up.
You need all the protection you need. Yeah, well, I've read that the first one alone, after a couple of weeks, it puts you at about 80% or something.
Oh, 80. Okay, that's better than
That's what I heard. You get the biggest spike out of that first one.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy. Okay, so Frank just said Anna, the person he does his Tarako show with, he said her brother is a VTuber. I don't know what that is, but I'm guessing that's the anime thing. So he talks as an animated character. Huh. It's interesting. I mean, I get it, but I think I'm also aged out of that, where I kind of don't. Oh my gosh, there's Corey. Okay,
yeah,
so see,
look at that.
You can stream your.
So yeah, I can do all kinds of different weird. I'm just streaming
your phone.
I'm just streaming my phone on Instagram.
Oh, there we go. I get it. Okay.
That's smart.
Wow. This is nice. I like what's happening here.
The one I see floating around right now is like Vin Diesel is behind you with his arms around you or something. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen that one.
That would, if you could get that one to work, I would want to. I would insist on coming back on the show immediately, so I could just have something weird like that happening.
So before I met my girlfriend and I was on the dating thing, the dating apps, you wouldn't believe how many girls have those filters on all their pictures.
Isn't it crazy?
Cats and stuff. I'm like, what? Why? I mean, I just like, and am I gonna expect when I meet you that you're gonna look like a cat? I mean, seriously, like only those pictures, not regular pictures.
Right.
No,
it's really bizarre.
Well, and not to be like, I'll own it. When I was on the dating apps, it's like, no, I want to see what you look like, darling. Like, I don't like, this is not, no, absolutely not. It's like, no.
Yeah, I definitely I can understand that. That's a little strange. Although I will say all of my social media pretty much everywhere has like me with like unicorn rainbows in the background. So,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I actually think I was looking at somebody the other day and I was like, it was like Facebook or something, and they had all these pictures of them.
Corey, I hate to do this. This is now starting to drive me nuts. So I'm gonna go back to the full view. I'm like, I can't take too much of it. It's cool though. It's a cool effect. It's just like after a while, it's like I want to see everybody.
You don't want to see me drifting off like an acid trip anymore.
Yeah, that is kind of cool though. Let's do one more. Okay, get it out of your system, Corey. Hit all the buttons.
There we go.
I don't know what other buttons to hit anymore. I think that's it. I think I went through them all.
Wow. So Mama Soto said she's building filters for clients like bands. That's kind of cool. Mama Soto's doing. I get the sense she does hardcore coding. Okay, is it out? Is it out of the system? Okay, that's impressive though. And honestly, Corey
wanted me to do that.
You should do an experiment and do a YouTube channel where you do that and you talk about
Minecraft.
No. Talk about like anime.
I should talk about like anime, but I don't know a lot about anime. So I could talk about like the 4 anime shows I know about as if that's the only anime that exists and just piss everyone off.
Yeah. And talk about how each one is like the best one.
Yes.
That will really get them going.
There was a really funny bit. So I listen to Comedy Bang Bang. It's one of my favorite podcasts. And they had a funny bit. I forget the comedians who did it, but they came on as sportscasters. And then of course, like it's revealed that they have like a perpetual sickness that makes them talk like this with their nose plugged, you know? So it's guys like that, but they're talking exactly like very convincing sportscasters. And then they start doing these analogies. So they'd be like, who would be better on a team? You know, would it be like LeBron James you'd want on your basketball team, or would you want the very powerful powers of Logan from X-Men? And then, like, it turns out it just slowly gets revealed like they're just nerds that like had know absolutely nothing about sports. And I just thought that was brilliant. So I think, yeah, you could do that, but just like in reverse with, you know.
That'd be great. I love it.
I used to do that occasionally. You kind of can't do it now because it's like everybody knows that move. But every once in a while, when I was talking to somebody about like Star Trek or something or Star Wars, I'd like mix up the ships on purpose.
Right.
Just to see their reaction. Where it'd be like, dude, when he gets in the Enterprise and just does light speed through the trench run, it's like amazing. And just watch the like, but it's
yeah.
Which is terrible because, yeah. Is that horrible?
No, I don't think so.
I feel bad. I feel like I need penance for that one. So I do think, Frank was asking us to talk about manga. And I'm curious because I saw like some discussion about how manga is pronounced in the chat. And I had no idea what was going on there.
It's not. It's not manga.
Yeah, well, that's clear. Yeah.
Well, I don't think that's
I've heard
clear.
people say manga. I've always said manga. I've assumed it's manga. I don't know why I think that.
I say manga.
Well, my wife's Japanese, and it's manga. Dude.
He's saying manga. Okay, well there we go.
Because I used to say manga, and then I went on a date with my wife and very quickly corrected that. Yeah.
So what was the discussion?
Well, I couldn't because we were doing Artcasters and there was like some heated debate about manga, and I have no idea what it was. But
I
think that was during Artcast.
I don't think it started that. I caught parts of that too, but
I wanted to know what was going on and who was contending with who, but I was like, that's like the one. I'm usually terrible with any pronunciations, but that one I actually know, you know.
Well, Sal can jump in if I only was gleaning it. I thought he was participating in it, and I think Sal was trying to make a point that sometime I think he was using like mango as an example, saying that if you're being accurate to the word origin, it should be mongo. I don't know. It was getting into this whole like, yeah,
weird. Okay.
Is mango, so, and I think maybe somehow manga got folded into that. It was
okay. I like mango though. Mango is a good word. You guys remember the SNL sketch?
Yeah, that's all I thought of when I saw that conversation. I wish you could put animated GIFs in the chat because I wanted to put someone daydreaming about mango.
Yeah, you could just be like, can you catch a pronunciation and hold it in your hand? No, such as mango. So I think what you're working on is coming out good, Scott. I think lettering's weird in the sense that you kind of have to just work it and stay with it, and then it starts kind of working out. But it looks balanced. I would pull this is nerdy, but you see your space between your I and your N?
Yeah.
I'd give more space between the I and the N.
Okay.
Just a
You would
little
give
bit.
more space?
Yeah, like on the IN section, just a little bit between the I and the N.
Because of the negative space in between the I and the R, you need a little bit between the I.
I see. Okay.
Kerning's a weird thing where it's like I've just barely started the.
Oh, for this this kit, I just designed a brand new font for it. So this is the first comic font I ever did that actually has lowercase in it too. It came out really good. Came out really good, but there's a lot of kerning in there. But,
dude, your fonts are like.
Yeah, this one is probably my favorite. Like, let me see if I can pull up some like here, I'll show you an example. I don't know if you can see that. So I know it's small, but so this is the font I created. So it's got lowercase. I mean, typically, obviously, if you're doing comics, you usually all caps, but in certain situations where you got a lot of body copy, I've got this lowercase here too. So, but yeah, that's my new font that's going to be included in this kit. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out.
I like the look of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see what. So Adam hopped in the chats. Okay, that makes sense.
What was it?
So if you're pronouncing it in American English, yeah. But if you're pronouncing like most Japanese words in American English, you're going to pronounce them wrong, right? But I get what he's saying. So I think he's saying manga, so it would be Wacom. Interesting.
Oh, that's right. It's about Wacom.
That's smart though. I that might be right. That's interesting.
Is my up, Josh? Can't you just ask her?
Oh, I don't know if she knows with Wacom, because it's not like that's like manga is a genre. Wacom is or Wacom is a product. So I think it's a little different, you know.
No, I know,
like,
but I mean like
meaning I don't know if she would know, because she just calls it a Wacom. So
she does call it a Wacom.
yeah, but it's not like a common word you'd hear in Japanese a lot.
Sure.
Know, right? So
but I mean,
I wasn't even aware they were Japanese, honestly.
I would say she has more validity than other.
Oh yeah, I'd ask her if she was up, but it's like 12 midnight, so she's asleep. but yeah, that's a good point. I'll have to ask and clarify that.
Shoot, purple. I'm trying to label all of these layers so that I have some modicum of sanity when I'm doing this.
All right, let's see what we got. Look at that. I finished a crazy crowd scene. You guys can't see it. Okay, here. There we go. Look at that. Done. Done crowd scene. Would you like some food for dinner? No, because I'm done with that crowd scene. All right.
Excellent.
That was a beast. Doing a round table with people is annoying.
That doesn't look fun. That looks, yeah.
Yeah, so it works out. But the nice thing is I'm one step closer
To the edge.
to the edge, and I'm about to break. I hate that song so much. This is the thing. I've tried to improve my crap talking, right? Because there's certain things I just really don't like. And I get that, like, it's better to just speak positively about things. But then there's some bands like I just like that's one I'm not a fan of, and yet people who are fans of it, like, there's nothing wrong with them. It's just one of those things that just like feels like a cheese grater when I hear it, like rubbing against my head.
I missed which one are we talking about?
Everything you say to me.
Linkin Park.
Yeah,
I
I did
think
get
for
into
me-
Linkin Park. My brother was friends with Chester, the lead singer.
Oh, no way. I'm
he went
sorry.
he went to high school with them. And so.
Well, no, I'm sorry
Sorry
because
for trash talking Linkin Park, or I'm sorry.
I'm sorry
your
he passed
brother was
away.
friends with this guy.
no, just sorry that he passed away. I mean, that
Yeah,
sucks.
so it's funny because like when my son was so right before, like, when Hybrid Theory first hit, my that's when my brother and my sister-in-law got married, and Chester came to the wedding, and then my son, it's funny because he had Chester had like this lip ring or whatever, and they had these little party favors or table settings with these fake wedding rings to wrap up the napkins and stuff. So my son, who was just a little kid at the time, he took one and put it on his lip. It was like, you break apart, and he walked up to him, and he was talking about my son from that day on until eventually he got out of it. Now all my son listens to is like Japanese theme music from anime, but he was like huge into Linkin Park as a kid. Little kid. It was kind of funny.
That's cool.
That's cute.
That is amazing. I still don't like the band.
That's all right.
I like them.
I
it's like
think out of all those
there's-
groups, I think Linkin Park is the one that actually had somewhat of a respect for hip hop music. I know Mike, the guy who rapped. I mean, he was. I think he was pretty good. It wasn't like Limp Bizkit was just, to me, it was just a mockery. But I thought the Linkin Park stuff was. I thought the lyrics and
I'll give you that. It's way more tolerable. It's a little truer to the thing. It's just like there's a like I think it is just this, like, for my musical taste, and this doesn't go for everyone because I get it, because like my sister in law like loves Linkin Park, right? For me, it's just like if the band name has like a weird hip misspelling in it, it's highly likely I'm gonna hate that band. Like, it's just like the sound.
Not a fan of Led Zeppelin.
Well, yeah, that's always the exception. But there's a couple. But I'm just saying, if it's from like, I guess it's like if it has a weird misspelling and it's from like late 1990, early 2000s, I'm probably not gonna like it.
What does that have to do with the music?
Thing? I think I somehow missed the Linkin Park thing.
Yeah. You missed the what?
I think I somehow missed the Linkin Park. When were they a thing? Like, I must have been really into something else.
I think they were like early, very early 2000s.
Yeah.
Like late 90s, early 2000s is when they like I think blew up. From what I gather.
I was in Scotland at the time. I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
I was probably still going down the Radiohead rabbit hole, so that wouldn't have been my thing at all.
Yeah, and around that time I was probably starting to like, if anything popular at the time, I was probably going down like the little emo train, because there are some emo bands that I still to this day love. But yeah. But
also, Josh, I think you're hardwired to just hate popular things.
Not always. I love a lot of popular stuff. I really like Tom Jones.
Wait, what?
Tom Jones was popular. It's not unusual to be loved by anyone.
Nicely done.
I like Neil Diamond a lot. I think Neil Diamond is brilliant.
I love Neil Diamond. Yeah.
I love Diamond. That's because I grew up with that. So
yeah. Well, I hated it growing up because my mom used to play it, and then we'd make fun of her for it. And then there was just this weird transition when I hit 30 where I was like, I get it.
It becomes.
I loved all that stuff that my parents listened to. Like,
me too.
Me too.
Seeger and
some of it just took me like 20 years. Yeah. Some of it took me like 20 years to get. And then I was like, oh, like,
yeah.
You know?
But I think I always kind of liked it, but I know what you mean. Like, I think once I hit a certain age, I liked it more. But yeah, like Fleetwood Mac and the Eagles and Jim Croce and Johnny Cash and like all that stuff. I loved it all. Like,
yeah,
and
Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I'm the contrarian in this group, I think, when it comes to music.
And Adam just said punk is popular, which is totally true. Like, there are some. It's funny because I remember the Punk Police showed up on the stream once.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they totally showed up and were like, because I said something like Bob Dylan is punk rock, and it ended up being this like crazy thing where the guy's just like, you don't know punk, and like I was just like, I don't know, like he's a little more punk rock than like.
No, I think that's a very easy argument to make.
Yeah.
That's
well, and there's actual like historians of punk rock who actually think I'm forgetting the song, but it's like the anyhow, there's one song that he released that a lot of historians consider like the first punk rock song because it was like a protest song. Yeah, so there's actually like there are people in music theory who think that could actually credibly be made, but I was just more talking about like the attitude and the spirit of it.
That's what I assumed. Yeah, you meant.
But the guy brought up the Sex Pistols, and I was like, bad example, dude. So I just basically was like comparing them, like, okay, so you think a boy band is
Oh no.
Because I love the Sex Pistols, but they
Right.
are a boy band. Like they were
Right.
put together by like a corporate douchebag who like was like, punk's popular. These guys dress that way. Why don't you guys play these instruments and
They're
stand
only
here?
different from the Monkees. It's the yeah.
And then the
I hear the Monkees were a huge influence on the Beatles.
That's
Hey.
kind of like saying my favorite Star Trek ship is the Millennium Falcon.
Neil Diamond wrote a bunch of the Monkees songs though, and like that's
Daydream
that's.
Believer.
Is that true?
I think he wrote the last train to Clarksville or whatever.
Did he?
too.
Did he write
Yeah.
that one?
I think
I
so.
don't know that.
Gotta see.
I know Daydream Believer, or was it Daydream Believer, or no, I'm a Believer. I'm a Believer. Did he write that one? I don't know.
I'm looking it up. So he wrote a little bit me, a little bit you. I'm a believer. Look out, here comes love to love. I'm a believer.
Yeah.
Okay, favorite
Crunchy granola, Sunday and me.
I'm
Here's
a
my
Believer
question.
sounds like a Neil Diamond song.
favorite manufactured band.
Okay, so he didn't do Last Train. Sorry.
I want to know everybody's favorite manufactured band.
Favorite manufactured band?
Yeah.
It might actually be the Sex Pistols. Like they are a great manufactured band. Let's see. There's a couple. It depends what you mean by manufactured band.
Yeah, we'd have to get it. Yeah.
But
I mean, like, to a
it's.
certain extent,
I want to cap
anything
that story
popular is manufactured, but
real quick, just because. So this guy was getting all up in arms, like they were the hardest band ever. They were tough as nails, and I just mentioned that the Clash kicked their asses like after shows like twice, because historically that actually happened. Like because the Clash was like truly like not a band to mess with, even though they looked like scrawny dudes. Like, yeah. Anyhow, which is funny because the Clash is like way more poppy. Anyhow, manufactured bands. Ooh, I got to think about that one because there's some really great pop bands, you know.
okay, I've got an unconventional
I want to
one.
look at a list. I'm going to try and Google a list.
Okay, here's my unconventional answer to that. Josie and the Pussycats, specifically
movie?
the live action movie one.
I agree with that. That was great.
And
Those letters to Cleo. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a good band.
That counts? The Josie and the Pussycats, the movie version?
Yeah, but that was like they did hire letters to Cleo, right?
Wait,
And then,
did they?
Yeah, I think so. Wasn't
Because I
it
remember
letters to
watching
Cleo?
behind the scenes on the DVD, and it was like, well, maybe, I don't know. But I mean, the actresses sang and played the instruments. So like somebody else wrote the songs and everything, but like the actresses actually learned how to play 3 of those songs and vocalized them and everything.
I mean, if we're going, if that counts, then I'm going to pick Barry Jive in the Uptown 5 from High Fidelity with Jack Black and
Oh hell yeah,
right.
that's a good choice. Good choice. What's it? The Fountains of Wayne wrote the soundtrack for the movie with Tom Hanks. That was good.
The Oneaters.
Mm-hmm. That
The
wasn't
Wonders?
bad. The Wonders.
Yeah.
Manufactured bands though. I feel like wasn't the
Gorillas has got to be up there.
Gorillas is a manufactured.
Were they put together? They weren't put together by a
That's-
record company. They were put together by
yeah, isn't
I
that
guess
like Jamie Albarn?
Jamie Hewlett and the guy.
No, I mean they're
were-
legit musicians. I mean you've got
right.
yeah.
Well, no, but like Damien Albarn,
But I
like
think they
did
put themselves together.
Yeah,
Right,
Damien Albarn did the whole thing, and then
But
just
then but they're not real in the. I mean they have like on one album it's like Del the Funky Hemisapien, and another album it's like somebody else, like voicing the characters. The characters
yeah.
are the band, but like the musicians are like interchangeable.
Ooh, this is interesting.
album.
Does
Well,
that
it's-
count?
I thought
I love this discussion because now I'm like, if that's the case, then like Massive Attack would be a band, like because
What is
Massive Attack has multiple members.
What is Massive Attack?
If you don't know Massive Attack, like unfortunately, what they're most known for is House. Although that's one of their best songs that they just used for the sound, like the theme song for House, the TV show.
Okay, I know the show, but I'd have to look.
Like Teardrop, like boom, doom, 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 doom. Anyhow,
We got some good stuff in the chats.
Massive Attack Mezzanine, by the way, just for like trip hop stuff, like that's a really good album. You should check that out.
Mama
New Kids on the Block.
say Spice Girls as well. I was
So
Kids
are
on the
super
Block,
groups
Cheetah
considered
Girls.
manufactured, like Traveling Wilburys, or like, I don't know, like a Audio Slave, or like what's it? Super groups.
Yeah, so I can see that.
S Club 7. Do you guys know S Club 7?
If Traveling Wilburys counts, I'm picking that. That's
Yeah, it's
I've never heard of Traveling Wilburys. Do I have to look them up?
Roy
Uh,
the Highwaymen or anything.
wasn't the Wilburys like? Wasn't that like Tom Petty?
Yeah.
Roy Orbison. It was
Harris? Not Harrison.
George Harrison. Was Johnny Cash? Johnny Cash wasn't part. No, he
Johnny
wasn't.
I will say a little
Oh,
disappointing.
Jeff Lynne.
Considering the artists that were in it, it's a little disappointing compared to like their solo stuff, you know, where it's like you're like, oh, okay,
Because
that sounds
like an all-star team. That's
If you want to see just some like weird jammy stuff like that, though, like they're like one of the coolest things for people who like may not know that Prince was like one of the best guitarists ever.
Who doesn't
is
know?
there's an induction ceremony in like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame where all like some of the most legendary like shredders are playing like While My Guitar Gently Weeps. And you can tell there's a section like they've mapped out where Prince is supposed to like shred. And it gets to Prince, and then this dumb roadie who's playing too, but he's like not like a big name, takes the lead. Like he just gets all into it. And it's like kind of weird. But the cool thing is, so Prince just kind of rolls with it. And then when that guy finishes, he just overlays like one of the most beautiful leads you've ever heard in that song and just destroys like every single guitarist on there. And it's totally improvised. It's really cool. I mean, it's tacky because it's like a bunch of shredders just shredding, but it's like, it's really interesting because he just had the patience to just wait and be like, nah, I can destroy every single person on this stage. It's pretty amazing. But it also makes you realize like what a like insanely good guitarist Prince was. He just like holds back a lot and like, but holy crap, like that guy can, yeah.
Is his formerly unreleased album out yet? Isn't that coming out soon, or is it already out?
I feel like
I heard he's got so much material that he could make probably like 20 albums.
I heard.
I
Yeah.
suspect that's like the Salinger book thing, where it's like, come on, guys, come on, let's see the books.
Well,
Let's
there's
see
this.
the album.
There's a story.
Like I saw an interview about it. Just it was on 60 Minutes. I think if it's not out already, it's coming out soon. Like
Which Salinger or Prince?
Prince.
Okay.
Yeah, Prince.
Well, there's a story with Prince where he was under contract from whatever his former record company was, that he had to produce like 6 albums, and to get out of the contract, he just took all the, he basically had enough stuff to just get out of his contract and just gave him the albums, like just right then and there.
Wow.
I wouldn't mind hearing those lost albums, but that actually does remind me, like, whatever did happen to like the treasure trove of J.D. Salinger books that were supposed to come out after he died? Like, where the hell are those books?
I'm pretty sure. Just
do you think it was fiction? Like,
I'm pretty sure if they existed, that he would have like burnt them.
No, he talked in like multiple interviews about like he was going to release the Glass family stories, the unreleased ones, like within 5 years of his death, like, and have his estate do it. And then his estate, like his son talked about it and stuff, and it's like it's just never happened. Yeah.
Okay, so just Prince's Welcome to America, an unreleased album, is due out in July.
Ooh.
So it is actually, I don't know if you can see that, but yes, it's official.
Against his wishes. I know that.
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
You never know though, like, because there are some musicians who like they like in their will, like authors do this too. That's why like the Salinger thing was supposed to happen, right? Where it's like in his will, he was like, these should be released on this date, stuff like that.
It was the opposite of with Prince, if I'm remembering correctly, where in his will it specifically said that none of his unreleased stuff was to be released.
Oh, that's so crazy.
His family somehow override that, or whoever.
Like Bowie actually, like he had something came out after he died, right? And that was actually planned, or was it in his will? I thought
I think it was. I think it was like he finished the recording on it like in the hospital for it
Oh,
or something.
Wow.
Right? Like because I think there were like accounts of him like actually recording it in yeah.
I
It's
don't
insane.
know. Yeah.
Milli Vanilli. Oh, we're talking one hit
Yeah, that's
wonders.
definitely a manufactured band.
I
don't know if they're one-hit
feel
wonders,
bad
though.
for them.
They're
Like
more than one hit.
I feel bad for them because I feel like they got caught doing something everyone still does, like a bunch of people still do, and now it's just okay. Although it was pretty bad because most people who are doing that are still sang the song.
Yeah.
And I guess in their case, like they didn't even sing the songs. And it was a terrible song anyway.
I think that's why people had no problem like going ahead and just tearing them down. Because,
That's true.
Like, was really into them and they couldn't sing at all. Like it was just like, yeah, okay, let's feed these guys to the wolves. Sure.
But I still feel like there was a lot of that going on.
Of course. Yeah.
We're at the hour part. How do I know this? It's like I felt weird and antsy, and then I'm like, oh, it's the hour mark. So I'm gonna take a 20-second break, and I'm gonna power through and try to color stuff. So you guys are welcome to stay and hang.
I'm probably gonna bow out. I'm gonna get some.
I have finally hit a spot that is making sense now. So
that is really cool looking.
Run with this.
Yeah, that does look very cool. I finished my very modest old school to-do list. I've been doing doodle a day. And
yeah, I've noticed that on Instagram.
Those are cool. And where can people follow you on Instagram?
Oh, on Instagram it's dinosaurs vs Mars bots, just like it sounds. But I was getting fed up because first of all, I ran out of paper and I knew I had an unused, like every artist, an unused pad of drawing paper somewhere in my apartment, but God only knew where. So I was just, this evening, I was just tearing my place apart. Like, I'm not buying another pad of paper. I know I have many somewhere. So I found my pad of paper, and then I was getting fed up with all these kind of 95% drained microns I had in my
those are the worst.
And I'd pick one up, like I was like, I think I need like the 01. I'd pick it up and go to draw, and it's like it's like it's barely so it's like no. So all I did while we've been talking is take all my pens and see, do they work or do they not? Do the markers work or do they not? And I was throwing them out. That's it. And I still have 100 million. So now I'm all set. I can get back to drawing tomorrow on drawing paper with working microns. I feel good about myself. I feel strong. I feel confident.
I love it. Well, sweet. Okay, so I'm gonna take off for like 20 seconds, and I'm
gonna go foam roll my back so that I can continue to sit in this chair for a couple hours.
I'm gonna crash because I have a meeting and a presentation tomorrow.
No worries, man. Much appreciated, Gary. It was fun to have you on, and you are always welcome. And Scott, thanks for jumping on the stream. It's fun to hang a little bit. And I think Artcasters was good.
Oh yeah.
Artcasters was good tonight. So if you guys check that out as well, if you enjoy these streams and stuff. So
all right. Good night, everyone. Good night, everyone in the chat.
Good night.
Night, Scott. Night, Gary.
And then chat, just so you know, we're sticking around like Corey and I, and we're just taking our usual little breaks. So right back.
How do I get out of here?
Remove. You can just close the browser tab and it'll kick you out.
I'll close the browser tab. Okay, cool.
Night, man. All right, so 20 seconds, and then I think you're doing a minute or so or whatever.
Yep.
So
I'm just gonna play this on a loop in case anybody wants to watch something.
Yes. Okay, I'll be right back. That looks cool. Okay.
Yeah, it's getting somewhere.
All right, so let's see here. Full album came out after he died. And then that Adobe Animation. Interesting. It's pretty cool. All right, so what do we got? How you doing, Mama Soto? And what are you working on? I would imagine some cool stuff. I am just going to try to lay out some flats and probably hang till about 1-ish. Maybe a little bit later, but not much. Let's see here. I'm actually pretty happy though. So this is the second to last of the 5-page pitch that I started about 2 weeks ago. And so I am pretty much on track to hopefully get this done and out. And this is not the usual method that I would use to flat. I'm doing a different technique where I'm overlaying the color over the black. Usually what I do is actually separate the black line from the white, but in this case, since this isn't aliased lines, they have anti-aliasing, which is like that blurriness. I'm going to have to like hand select all my selections, but I'm doing it a little sloppier. If you want to do this really clean, you could use the pen tool to make your selections, but I'm doing like quick and dirty flats here. The nice thing is the way the style is on this, all I have to do is flats. But I would say like for coloring comics, like flatting is one of the least exciting things on the planet. And I bet when Corey gets back, he can second that. When you're flatting color, it's like way less fun than the rendering and all that. Adam is still in the chats. Awesome. And Adam was telling us, so once I'm done making this selection, I want to check out what you guys are working on. Frank, are you still there? Frank mentioned Gem and the holograms, and I remember way back in the day, they had these villains called the Misfits, and I hadn't heard of like the punk band the Misfits because I was like a really little kid when that was running. And I remember they had this song about being a giant because it was like this episode where they somehow became giants and they were having like this rock off with like against the Misfits. And I got to look and see if this is still on YouTube because I still vividly remember it. I just haven't taken advantage of the internet and seen if this is still there. But yeah, they had this song like I am young and defiant, I am a giant that they sang when they became giants to like defeat the Misfits in like a battle of the bands. I still vividly remember that because it was really cool when I was a kid. Mama Soto said, I'm working on testing out my new watercolors for an illustration logo I'm doing for a wedding photographer. Nice. Getting that branding going. And then I was working on a list of planned projects for the next 20 years when I would need to finish scripts, concept art, start on final pages. That's awesome. Yeah, isn't it crazy? I don't know if I planned that restrictedly because it does freak me out a little bit. Like I have like a end goal plans, but it's like if I just do the math and it's like it takes me at max like 2 years to do a graphic novel. Like that would be like best case scenario. It's not a lot of books, like because that's very best case scenario. The last one took me 5. So it's like 5, 10, 15, 20. You know, like you start doing the math, it's a little scary sometimes. Mama Soto, yeah, that's a good point. 20 years, but that's impressive, and it doesn't hurt to have like a long-term goal. I just don't like solidify them to like I need these 5 books by then, but it's a good idea. That's awesome. I mean, Jason Lutz, you guys probably could look it up, but I think he spent, I think it was 15 to 20 years. I think it was probably 15 on Berlin. And when you read it, it definitely seems like it was worth it. And it definitely seems like a book that would take about 15 years to create. I mean, that was on top of doing other books and stuff, but still. You can definitely see it's funny because it's like I love cartoonists who do everything. Most of the cartoonists I'm really drawn to do like their own, writing, inking, lettering, all of it. But when you do that and dip into that territory, it's like you can definitely, at least I can definitely see the value of teams, where it's like it actually does make sense why, like, when people need to make like a crazy fast schedule with comics, like you would need a team, or just like some profoundly unusual abilities. So, but I am feeling good about finishing this page because I was a little worried that last panel was taking a long time. So Corey, I was just talking to people about the nightmare of doing flats.
Oh, geez.
When you don't have, like, if you have beautifully closed lines and aliased lines, then it's not that bad to do flats. It's pretty easy.
Do you not hire a flatter?
Huh?
Have you not hired a flatter?
Oh, I don't like hiring people for my own personal stuff. It's weird.
I know, but like flatting is like,
this is a 5-page sample chapter. And
Yeah.
honestly, if I tried to hire a flatter because these aren't, alias lines, like they'd probably destroy it. But yeah, it's not a bad idea to hire a flatter. You can pay like $10 and have them, flat a page.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was doing my webcomic, that was the one thing that I was willing to pay for, because it was like $8.
Yeah.
And it was like, the guy was fast. I would send it to him like that night and it would be there the next morning.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And it was like, anyway, and then just the coloring of it. I feel like it's not mindless, but like it is mind numbing for me. So it was well worth paying a flatter. Mama Soto's asking if there are really flatters.
Yep. It's a whole industry.
Yeah.
The thing about like flat coloring, I see people, like, the way I'm working right now is a very long way, and it's particularly because of the way that I'm working. But if you ink traditionally, I see people do it wrong so often when they flat that I'm like, no wonder they hate flatting. Like flatting should not take as long as it takes people, because a lot of people with clean line art that they could easily make solid black and white, so it'll print like crisp and pretty, they don't solidify their blacks. So it's like there's still variation in their color, but there shouldn't be, because it's like solid black and white. And
Personally attacked by this whole thing that you're saying.
Oh, really?
I'm just kidding. But yeah, I don't do any of the things you're saying.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, so if you're doing like solid black and white, like I could show some tricks that will greatly, vastly simplify the process of flatting in Photoshop, and you'll be like, oh crap! Like it's really pretty quick. The method I'm using now is like the method you have to use when you're doing anti-aliased lines, and variations of gray and stuff that are attached to your work, and then it becomes a beast, But
like you remember my what did I call that poster?
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
The fan art mashup that didn't make any sense. That poster.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I hired a flatter for that, and it was like one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
Yeah.
It took. There's just so much going on in that poster, and they just turned it around so fast.
Oh yeah. And like at the end of the day, like it doesn't hurt to hire a flatter, and I might consider that, in the future. I have this weird thing with my own books where I want to do everything. Like when I'm doing my personal, I
totally get that. No,
but even that doesn't make a lot of sense with flatting, because at the end of the day, they could flat it with like, puke rainbow colors, as long as it's aliased and the selections are clean, then you're set, because you can basically just make it whatever colors you want it to be.
Right.
And most coloring houses, like that do comic book coloring, flatter is like the grunt work. That's like the person who scans the page, scans, cleanups, flatting, like all of that's grunt work. Like it doesn't require like a vast amount of skill. It just requires a crap load of time. And so, yeah, that's a good idea to outsource. But I will tell you, like, if you really clean your lines, make them solid black and white, and it's just traditional inking, like flatting really shouldn't take a super long amount of time. But even in that sense, let's say it takes an hour, right? Which it can sometimes, like if your line art is really clean,
right?
Just to flat, like what are you worth an hour? Like I don't know, $8 is pretty cool. Like
right. That's what I'm
like
saying.
Yeah. So
and even just being able to like step away from it for like 5 minutes and go do something else.
Dude, I am not opposed to it. I think that's pretty smart.
I will die on this hill of hiring flatters. Like that's how strongly I feel about how everyone should hire flatters.
No. And like I said, that's not a hill I would die on, because I actually think you have the more reasonable view on that. And if I ever work on a book that's like full color or even something like this one would be harder to outsource though, because it's a little more complicated than traditional flats,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not that bad, but it's like, I don't know if a good rule of thumb with outsourcing is the easier it is to explain, the more likely it is that they will get it right.
Yeah.
When you're outsourcing work that is complicated and requires a lot of critical thinking, you're going to have more difficulty. And that's not that the people being hired aren't critical thinkers. It's just
it's not an insult to them at all. It's just if it's hard to explain, then it's hard to understand.
And a lot of the times, like if you're paying $8 for flats, like you're probably dealing with somebody who's not speaking the same language, and so the translation barrier and all of that, like just with outsourcing, like you have to be really clear. It has to be a very step-by-step process and very clearly laid out, like what your expectations are.
Yeah.
So they say I'm a flatter. Yeah, people. I mean, they probably call themselves a colorist, right? And then like a comic book colorist, and then flatting would be like a base level.
You're missing her pun.
Oh,
go read.
Oh, a flatterer. Oh my gosh, it's.
Oh, and by the way, thank you for following me on Instagram. I just saw that while I was upstairs rolling my back out.
Okay, so she was asking if they flatten the image. No. Like, so flatting, like the flat colors here. I'll turn off my lines. So it's like this, where they're making aliased selections of the areas of color. So it's like every single area on the page, when you're flatting it out, that's like flat coloring. So it'll be like, I have to select this eye. I have to select this face. I have to isolate all these different elements and match them to this. So it's kind of like this here. I actually pulled my flats from my other page. These are really sloppy flats.
I'm trying to see if I have the flats.
See what I mean? That's kind of what we're talking about. Something like that with outline. That's what it would look like, making all those selections. I want to pull up something too that would be like a case in point example of like
Here it is.
simpler color.
So what just happened? So these are flats on this poster I did. They're not even remotely close to the colors that I ended up using, but what it does is it allows you to select it and then manipulate it after the fact. So let me see if I can open that up in.
You know what? I was about to go into tutorial mode, and I'm not going to, because I was like, I need to actually get these like a little more progress on my flats. But that is an interesting thing, and I would like to show that with traditional inks.
This is how it turned out. Mm-hmm. But the flat colors, it's like a layer underneath the inks. Mm-hmm. And then you can use your like magic wand selection tool to just select it and do stuff with it.
Yep. It is a fun, it can be like a fun thing, but it's just time consuming. So like Corey's suggestion is actually brilliant. And I might at some point have to ask you
who
your flatter is, because it's been a while. So
he's amazing.
Amazing Fruit. That's a 90s reference that Corey probably understood, and I'm guessing a lot of people who didn't grow up watching 90s cartoons. Like,
I don't think I did understand that.
It's Amazing Fruit ad?
No, I don't.
It was Okay. So there was like a fruit thing, like a snack for kids that was advertised heavily during the Disney afternoon, called Amazing Fruit. And
we didn't have Disney when I was growing up.
Oh. Well, no, it wasn't Disney Channel. It was just the Disney afternoon, you know, like Darkwing Duck, all that stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember Darkwing Duck.
Yeah. So it was just like, it's Amazing Fruit. Amazing Fruit is an ad. Like around the same time as, like, I don't know if you remember the Mr. Bucket ads. I don't know.
Nope.
Oh my gosh, that one is rife for puns.
I wonder
if you ever look up at some point, you should watch the Mr. Bucket cartoon, and then you'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay,
There's an ad, and I don't know. It just talks about where you should put the balls.
Well, you showed me this ad at some point in time.
It's so disturbing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, how do we always? I don't know. We always end up somehow talking about like 80s and 90s cartoons and ads.
I just think every conversation should be about 80s and 90s cartoons.
Yeah.
It bothers me that they're not.
Yeah, that's true. It really shouldn't diverge. Amazing. See, Adam remembers Amazing Fruit gummy bears. Yeah, you know, like I think the bears in the ads were like, "It's amazing fruit, amazing fruit." Yeah, classic one. Cool. That also Batman the animated series used to have that.
Show's so good. I have almost purchased the DVDs of that so many times.
Yeah, that who's that character artist? I always forget his name, and he's amazing, and everybody rips him off.
It's not Tim Sale. It's why can't I remember his name?
It's sad that I can't remember his name, because he's probably like the most known character designer in animation in the last like 20 years. And his style, literally, like almost every single character artist in animation, like ripped him off, like very subsequently.
Oh, that's why I was thinking Tim. It's Bruce Timm.
Bruce Timm, thank you. Yeah. Very cool. Shape-based characters, very unique style. Yeah. Even Invincible is influenced by that.
Yeah, it's not surprising.
I mean, just you look at the character designs in Invincible. And it's like, yeah, that's Bruce Timm influence.
Well, which makes sense because Invincible is like an homage to everything superheroes. And I think if you listen to like podcasts of people making comics today, I think the Batman animated series probably had a bigger effect on like current creators than almost anything else.
Especially in our age range. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Because like that was pretty incredible. I remember that first, I think the first one with the Joker.
Yeah.
And the guy driving his car and kind of accidentally driving by the Joker. It's like, it was just so good and like thematically, and I don't know, it's just really pretty stunning at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's really cool. I also really liked the X-Men series. I tried rewatching it on Disney Plus. And I was like, it doesn't hold up. It doesn't hold up as much as I wanted to. I will say the theme song does. The
theme song is
rad guitar.
Legit. Yeah. I just got you demonetized. Sorry.
That's okay. I'm not monetized anyway. You'd have to be monetized first for that to happen. Right. I think I still need the view count or whatever. It's weird because I was in the reverse situation like a year ago where I had the view count, but not the subscribers. Now I have the subscribers, but like I have to wait for it to tally that view count.
That is annoying.
What's weird is I also have a lot of the tools of monetization because I was monetized and then they had like the limit thing. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. It's weird that they rolled it back, that all of a sudden you weren't. Like you were and then you weren't.
I get it. You know, it makes sense. But it is kind of weird because it's like they're still making money. So I don't know. I guess maybe to isolate to like the best potential thing for their advertisers. I don't know. I don't understand YouTube. Like their decisions YouTube sometimes.
Yeah.
Some of them I completely get, you know.
Right. What am I? I'm getting distracted. What am I doing? This goes with that. Is that what it goes with?
Adam was saying he loves late 80s commercials. There is a charm to some. I think the weird thing is there's all these commercials we all universally kind of grew up with, a lot of us, and then like that whole experience is gone, which might be good in the sense of like a broader
like that we're having nostalgia about being advertised to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Is like how they turned us as 6-year-olds into consumers.
Yeah, it's interesting to me like that. I would think that would get rid of trends that are like universal, but then I see things like somehow my son knew Ryan's World and everyone at his school knew Ryan's World. And it's like, how do they,
Ryan's World?
It's like this YouTube kid who like opens toys and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And he's got, you know,
I have only heard of him because he's like one of the biggest YouTubers ever, right?
Yeah. But it's like, I don't know how kids are hearing about him, but they do. They just do. And it's very strange.
Well, kids watch a ton of YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Kids are obsessed.
I mean, that's one of the biggest problems that YouTube has with the government right now is that kids are watching a ton of YouTube.
Yeah, and like what's weird is a lot of it's really cool for kids. Like they're like, so my son's really into Minecraft, right? He likes playing Minecraft safe mode. And there's like YouTube Kids and there's some great Minecraft videos. But I also know there's people on Twitch who are like doing Minecraft videos that like you would not want your child watching at all. Because they're, you know, like using language that's not appropriate for like a 7, you know. And it's like, it makes sense. Like if I did a stream where I was playing like Mario 3, it wouldn't be made for like a 7-year-old, you know?
Right.
But like there's a lot of 7-year-olds who'd love to watch a Mario 3 tutorial. So like what, like on vintage NES. So it's like, I can see where the conundrum happens,
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely think like parents just have to like monitor their kid a little bit,
Yeah, I mean, I know that it doesn't work for everybody's household, but like my kid has to ask permission to log into the computer and tell me what she's doing. And then she's not allowed to watch YouTube if there isn't an adult in the room.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that's going to last, because she's 11. At some point, we're going to have to like whatever. But there's just so many creepy people out there doing really horrible things.
Well, especially games. You have to be really careful with those iPhone games because a lot of them have chats.
Yeah.
And so it's like we review everything before he ever picks something. There's that, what is it, Roblox?
Oh, Roblox.
He tried to play that for it was like we had that for about a day, and then I saw the chats and I was like, yep, that's not going to happen.
Roblox is a huge problem.
Oh my gosh. It's a great game for kids, but they got to have some way to block that chat because the chat thing is a real.
No, I have a coworker whose daughter was like getting groomed basically. She didn't realize it.
Jeez.
Here's the problem.
That is
yeah, it is bizarre.
And I mean it sucks. It sucks that like I don't know. I feel like at least Minecraft has like a better way of kind of monitoring that where you can kind of keep a better eye on it, not have chats on it.
Yeah.
But it's like the lack of moderation over the chats. It's like I wouldn't let my kid play that.
Yeah, it's pretty. I don't know. It just annoys me that there are people out there that.
Yeah, Mama Soto just said, "You're good, Corey. My eldest, when she was online playing a Polly Pocket type game, some guy creeped on her. Jeez, that's unbelievable." And she said that's in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? Like, I don't know, people might say, hey, that's too authoritarian or whatever, but like at the same time, like there's a huge number of women in the US. I can't remember the percentages, but I think it's like 1 in 5 or something that is like sexually assaulted by the time they're like an adult or something. I can't remember exactly what the statistic is, but it is a staggeringly high number of people. And so anything I can do as a dad to like try to make that not happen, I'm going to do it. And I don't care what people say.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you two are with me because holy cow, that's.
Well, and like I tend to be on the side of like not being super censorious, but there's a difference between being censorious and then like there are some responsibilities you have as a parent. Like if your kid like runs across the street and there's cars coming, like it's not like you can just be like the cool parent about that. Like you actually need to teach your kid not to run in front of moving cars, right? Like, so like for me, that's kind of where I draw the line is like, if there's a huge potential of like massive harm, that's undoable harm, like not undoable harm, that's permanent harm.
Yeah.
That's where like, as a parent, it's like, you really can't, I mean, it's for each parent, I guess, to make that call. But it's like, for me, I view it as like, like, yeah, I want my kid to have freedom and choices and stuff. But if he's putting his finger in a wall socket, like there's a problem there. Like, so that's kind of how I feel about it. However, I'm going to gauge what my kid can do by his maturity level. So
yeah, well, because the flip side of this, and this is where I struggle as a parent, is I want to also teach her correct behavioral principles and limits and things that she can enact it herself. So like I don't want her to like turn 18, have had no experience with technology, get a phone and go to college, and then like lose her mind because she wasn't like taught like how to not be addicted to a phone and how to have like proper digital limits and whatever. You know what I mean? Like I knew people that were so sheltered that they hit college and like went nuts.
Well, dude, it was a joke when I was younger, and single, that like the easiest people you could meet would be like highly religious people who are in a repressed environment.
Right.
Because it's like, it's just like, there's nothing, there's nothing that will cause more rebellion than like, well, I mean, you could just, if you think about it from like the standpoint of a government, because like really your house is a little government, right?
Yeah, right.
And it's definitely not a democracy. Like it can't be for kids. At least I don't think, especially till they reach a certain age. But it's like if you're running a dictatorial scenario, then you're in a totally like you're gonna get submission and obedience until they don't have to.
Uh-huh.
And that's the last thing any parent wants. So I get what you're saying. It's a hard balance between, you need kids to be able to have the freedom to make the right choice. And part of that means the ability to make the wrong choice.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to navigate. But at a really young age, like that, at a really young age, like I think it's more important to kind of like, yeah.
Well, it's like this, right? I think
just kind of keep them safe for a little bit.
Yeah, there are ages where it's appropriate to learn things.
Yeah.
For example, like I'm not going to let my 3-year-old drive a car.
Yeah, 100% not.
Because he could hurt himself or hurt other people. But at a certain age when it's appropriate, then I'm gonna teach him how to do it and help him do it, and then eventually I'm gonna let him drive the car when I'm not in the car, But like,
I'm also not gonna lie to my kid, but I'm gonna have a filter. So it just depends on, like, meaning, like, there's just like if my kid asks about the universe at the age he's at, he's gonna comprehend a bit. I may not be able to get into like how gravity works at the age he's at.
Yeah.
I can kind of explain it. I can say like, hey, there's this thing called gravity, but I have to kind of parse it in for him,
Right.
And as he gets older, the more I can kind of get into the more complicated stuff. And I'll try to answer what I can as truthfully as possible, but it's like, there's a difference between being truthful and being just like irresponsible.
Yeah.
With your kids. So I agree with you. It's like, I also like one of my big concerns too is like, I definitely don't want to be too sheltering where it's like I said, because that's just asking for, straight up rebellion. Cause that's just what happens if you tighten your grip on people. Like you get compliance until there's no need to comply.
Yeah. And I think
it's like teaching, right? If you're a strict teacher, like, and don't get me wrong, like a good teacher tends to be a strict teacher. But if you put kids in your classroom in a no-win scenario, they may not learn. Like,
right.
It's not going to be like long-term learning. It'll be like, I'm going to do what I have to get out of this class. I'm going to give a terrible review, which, by the way, reviews don't reflect on the quality of the teacher the year of, but still, it's like I'll grit my teeth and bear it and then just like leave this class in the dust, right? There's different kinds of learning, but it's like it's important not to, I mean, you learn how to navigate that as a teacher and as a parent, I think, where it's like it's a fine balance. I don't know how you do it. Like you're getting to those teenage years.
Well, I mean,
and that to me, that's where the navigate, like it's a little easier to navigate with a 7-year-old, where it's like, you just can't do that.
what we've always done with Scarlett and now with Maddox is I explain my reasoning.
Yeah.
And a lot of parents disagree with me. They're like, no, I don't need to explain my reasoning. I'm the parent. I'm in charge. And I'm like, I'm not trying to convince them
Yeah.
of my decision making. I'm trying to explain that there is a decision making process. You know,
That's
like
100% important. Like whether they agree with your decision or not, they need to understand why you did it. They don't need to agree with you. They just need to actually understand.
well,
The
and
authoritarian is the one who says, because I say so, because I'm the authority. Like
right.
that's an argument from authority. You're
Yeah,
teaching your kid how to not have critical thinking.
I will even explain my reasons for saying because I say so.
Yep.
Like I've explained to Scarlett, like, listen, there are times when I have to say because I say so, because there isn't time to have the discussion before you get injured or
Yep.
in trouble or whatever, you know. And so like, you know, I love that she has a little brother now because I can relate things to her that way. Like I was like, listen, when I tell you something, right, it's going to be frustrating because, and you're going to want to lash out, but you lash out with your words, right? Maddox right now doesn't have words, and so he lashes out with his hands. Like when I take the knife away from him, you know, like he's frustrated because I took something away from him, so he hits me, right? But after I take it away from him, I can explain what's going on, and he might not understand it at 2.5, but you know, at 5, I don't know when it's going to kick in, right? So I'm going to have that conversation with him at 2, and I don't know when it's going to kick in with you, but I'm going to have that conversation with you at 11, right? But like, I need to stop you from doing the thing before you hurt yourself or somebody else. Then we can have the discussion. So
Yep.
there's obedience and compliance immediately. Then we can discuss, but not like during. Like I'm not going to watch you I'm not going to watch Maddox like run into a busy street.
You're like, don't run into that in front of that car because here's why I made it. By the time, no, I totally agree. I use the same technique because, you know, I'll usually, but I do really make a massive effort to, like, after I've asked, explain why. Because I think that, like, once again, it's like you don't want to end up doing an argument from authority that's not real authority. Like real authority can explain. And they don't necessarily explain to the point where you're like, they don't comply with you always, but they'll explain why they made a decision. Because that's what good authority can do. Bad authority is just like, it's this way because, and that's it. That's like a position of weakness. And once again, it works. It's just like, I'm saying like my own view on it because it's like, I think we're in agreement on it where it's like where I can, I definitely always don't want to come from a position of weakness because that'll fold, you know?
Right.
Because weakness is like the cop who's like, get out of the car because I'm a cop. Like,
right.
You're actually antagonizing and making a situation worse by pulling the cop card. Like sometimes you have to, but it's like really rare. And if you're already starting your conversation with your hand on your gun, there's nowhere it can escalate. Like, so there's, I don't know. I think it's pretty amazing. I'm still learning it, but it is kind of surprising to me. Some of the things that, I don't know, it's a learning experience, but it's definitely surprising to me. Some of the ways that parents create authority, or it's like being a parent, I'm like, you don't really have to do that, you know?
Yeah.
But then I also see like weak ass parents and I'm like, oh, come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you're like, come on, you can't just let your kid run in the street, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't mean like the street, like the suburb. I mean like the freeway, you know, like,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or the parents who like overly negotiate where you're like, you don't have to, like, yeah, that's another one for me. That's a pet peeve. Cause for me, it's like, you kind of explained yourself. You don't have to go, yeah, but no, you just kind of go, yeah, I've made myself clear. You've made yourself clear. We disagree.
This is a big sticking point for Malia and I because I continue to negotiate when she doesn't.
Yeah, that's a hard one. It's hard. My wife is the negotiator of the two, and then I tend to be the one. I will negotiate, like, if it's reasonable, but it's like generally I'll be like, yeah, I kind of explained myself. I told you to do this thing. You're, refusing to do it. So at this time, you either need to do it or there's gonna be trouble,
Yeah.
So it's weird. I don't know. I'm like both a strict and a very pro freedom parent. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. My Mama Socha is bringing up an idea that is both encouraging and super frustrating. That if they learn something from you, it's stored in their brain library for life.
Oh, that's so scary.
And it's great because, I see college students, and by the time they're seniors, they're starting to like use reasoning and logic and critical thinking in their decision making, and they're slightly less impulsive than they were when they were freshmen.
Wait, college students?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially men. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like,
I was gonna say, like women mature. At least when I taught college, like I think everyone's a little immature, but I think like it is kind of startling the difference between the maturity level of men and women in like their early 20s in college. It's like night and day.
Oh yeah.
But shocking.
And the interesting thing at the college that I teach, it's a religious institution, and religious missions are encouraged. And so a lot of these students are even a little bit older because in the middle of their college career, they're like take off for like 18 months to 2 years.
Oh, yeah, I always kind of forget about that.
So like where a lot of people would graduate at 22, they're graduating at 24. Which is what I did. And it was great. It was interesting. But yeah, but I just look at the freshmen and I'm like, not encouraged, because I have some friends that are like elementary school teachers, and like when I started teaching college, he got really sad because he was like, it's sad to me that you are experiencing the same problems with your students that I'm experiencing. I would have hoped that by the time they were like in their 20s that they wouldn't have these issues. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, I think it's like,
what's sad though is that transcends to a workplace too. It's not like it's just college. Right. Like it's like that's just life. Like you would like to think.
Right. But I mean, generally speaking, I'm like, yeah, I think actually all the stuff that we're hoping for happens, approaching 30, and maybe a little bit after 30 is when, your brain isn't developed until you're like 24, 25. And then like, you still have to like figure out what to do with all those new.
Again, I hate putting that male female divide on that, but like, I think that's actually a real compliment to women. But I think for them, it's usually like 19. Whereas men, I think it takes like, it takes us till we're like 25 to get to
okay. So
the processing of rationality that develops in the brain in men actually develops slower.
Yes, but
which is sad.
So
that doesn't excuse anything. I'm just saying
the studies that I've read would disagree with you slightly in that the age range of neurological ability in gender is pretty equal, except for men typically advance from stage to stage, and women have gained the ability early on to jump stages situationally. And so like if a man is developing and he gains neurological abilities in like stage 3, he's like in stage 3 for like almost everything in his life. Whereas women can be in like stage 5 in parts of their life and stage 1 in parts of their life, and they can jump around because their cerebral cortex is gigantic compared to men's. Like men's cerebral cortex is like, or I'm sorry, not cerebral cortex, corpus callosum. The corpus callosum is the thing that connects the two lobes. And women's corpus callosum is huge, like physically larger than a man's. And men actually don't have the ability to multitask. Like we can switch tasks quickly, but women actually neurologically have the ability to multitask, and men don't. And also with that, they have the ability to like stage jump situationally in neurological development, and men don't. So it's kind of what you're saying, but from what I understand, it's the stages still, those doors are still opened at the same time in both genders, but the ability to jump rooms basically is only on the one side, not on the other.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like women aren't like like obviously there's maturing process, but my point is like it's just interesting that there's like this first like 20 years of life where like the maturity gap is pretty significant.
Oh yeah.
It takes us a while to catch up.
Oh, and I'm not disagreeing with that at all. Yeah.
And that's pretty interesting from a neurological standpoint, but it's also like it's got to be really frustrating to have to deal with men if you're not one in that right. that time frame. You know, and I'm mainly obviously that's like for neurotypical, not not
right.
for,
yeah. There's always exceptions,
but I don't know. It's interesting.
Why, hold on. Look at this. That's why we can talk and peel the onion at the same time. Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. So women were able to go from left to right hemisphere really easily. That's because of the corpus callosum.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas men don't task switch as easily as women do. But we compartmentalize better.
Yep.
So like if something happens in one compartment of our life, it doesn't poison everything out, every other compartment. We can like shut the door on that and leave it, which isn't necessarily.
It's not always good.
Good. No, it can be really toxic. But yeah, it's interesting. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I love those things, and like keep in mind, like neither of us are like professional shrinks or anything, so it's not like we're speaking from just stuff we've read. Some of it's anecdotal. I even know, like from what I've read, like even the whole right-left hemisphere thing, some of that's been debunked recently, which is really fascinating. Where it's like I'm unaware of like what's been debunked of that and what hasn't. Because that's just been traditional psychology for a really long time.
My understanding of it is the modalities of thinking that we call right brain and left brain are still very accurate, but the location of those processes are not.
Yeah, like they're not necessarily like isolated to the right and left, because they've had like, I guess, and most of that has to do with studies where people like literally had a divide in their brain.
Right. There's like, hey, this guy, there was an explosion and we shot this train spike through his head. So his lobes don't talk.
One of the fun things about it though is like we understand certain things, but the understanding is so bad when it comes to the brain. Like it's amazing. Like we know so much, but like so like hardly anything when it comes to consciousness or the brain. Yeah. But it's really exciting. And yeah, Adam, I feel you. Like task switching is something I've had to adapt to, but it's really hard. It is hard to kind of go from one to the other. I have to kind of come up with like mental tricks to kind of be okay with it, because it is necessary. But it's also close to impossible. So I feel you on that, Adam.
Let's see. I want that on the side, I think.
I also love that. I love that we can have conversations about that kind of stuff, because I get all nerdy about that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super fascinating to me. I find it very interesting. Oh, I want that actually over here. I'm just now deciding what I want these parts to do, which I probably should have known when I was making them. But now I'm thinking about it.
I'm working in this very strange flatty way, but I think once I have this first panel flatted, I might call it, because I do have work in the wee hours.
Oh, yeah. I do not. So I might just turn on some music and keep rocking out with it. It was funny. Yeah, I'm realizing I'm doing a bunch of like really technical things that's making it really difficult to talk. So I don't
Oh,
think
dude,
I'm-
no worries, man. You've been talking a lot.
no, but I keep stuttering and not finishing sentences. What I'm saying is, I was thinking if I would continue the stream on my own channel, this is too mathematical to stream and do. What were we talking about just now?
We were talking about the divide of the brain, and I was saying I appreciate that we can have those conversations.
Oh yeah.
And you were saying it's pretty fascinating, and I think that's where we kind of sort of drifted.
Yeah, I can't remember where I was going with that.
Yeah, I think so I guess we got there somehow from childhood stuff, but it's like it is hard to navigate, and it's like I am impressed because it seems it's just a hard topic to like I imagine it gets more tenuous the older they get.
Yeah.
To just try to know where to draw those boundaries, how protective is too protective, you know, and inevitably you're probably going to get stuff wrong. I mean, that's the scariest part of being a parent, is just like, it's like any authority position where you're going to screw up at some point.
Yeah.
And you can only just try your hardest to not make it a permanently scarring mess up, you know.
Right.
But
okay.
Wim Hof breathing. What is Wim Hof breathing, Mama Soto? I'm curious. Have you heard of that, Corey?
No.
So long.
Oh. Josh got kicked out. Oh no. As long as you're always feeling safe for your kids and know that they can always come to whatever they need to talk about, no matter how bad. Yeah. I'm interested in what is Wim Hof breathing? Because
I have no idea what happened there. I kicked myself out of my own stream. I think it was like a late night. So she said, so long as you are always a safe spot for your kids, you know they can always come to you with whatever you need to talk about, no matter how bad. Yeah, I like that. Cool. All right, so I kind of want to see what you've got so far. I'm going to call this.
oh, it's the guy. It's the Iceman. Have you heard of the Iceman?
The Iceman.
He's able to like withstand like ridiculously cold temperatures, and is like his immunity is crazy high, and he does
sweet.
it through these like breathing exercises. I didn't know his name though. Yeah, I hadn't thought of using that as a way to help with COVID. Yeah, broke records in being in cold Arctic waters, controlled skin temperature, easy deep breathing.
Does he live in Corey's neck of the woods? This would be a good place to put that into practice.
Yeah, he's an interesting dude. Was it you that was telling me about him, or somebody else?
I don't know. I might have. I doubt it.
At one point, somebody was telling me that he does this stuff, and they were like, "No, there's no way." And he's like, "Well, test it." And so then they like tested him, and they're like, "Holy crap, this is for real!" Like he's able to like control the temperature of his skin and withstand whatever, and he has higher oxygenated blood than everybody else, and whatever. So then they're like, well, how did you do that? And he's like, oh, well, I'll tell you what, you give me a bunch of graduate students and I'll just teach them, and then you can test them and you can see if what I'm saying is legit or not. So then he did that, and then they tested them, and they had very similar results.
Okay. I have to call it. This is way too interesting, and we'll do a whole other 2 hours of streaming. I got to work. So
right.
I do want to say thanks, Mama Soto. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Frank. I don't know if Frank's still hanging in there, but he was here earlier in the chats, and just basically everybody who watched the stream hung out. Obviously, check out Scott Cirkland, who was on earlier. Definitely check out Gary Hodges' stuff, Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots, Scott Cirkland, Young and the Dead. Corey Kerr has his own YouTube channel. It's awesome. You guys are probably already subscribed, but if you haven't yet, you should watch his latest videos because he has a bunch of cool animation tutorials. Corey, that looks really cool too. I like the movements there.
Yeah, now I think I have everything moving the way I want them to. Oh, not everything. There's 3 more I want to do. Now I'm just going to piece them together and then figure out how I'm going to transition them because I have no idea.
I love it. Cool. So so go to CoreyKerr.com too, but definitely check out his YouTube because there's a lot of cool videos, including one he did for Wacom. And then if you haven't yet, go to Amazon and buy 2 stories. That'll do it. Anything I didn't get to you want to mention, Corey?
Nope. It's great.
Cool. Yeah, it's fun, man. I love these streams. It's weird. They're very fun to do.
Yeah, it's fun having Scott join us too. He usually doesn't stick around too late because he's kind of an early riser.
Oh, I should mention that. I always forget to mention that on my streams, especially the live streams. But if you want to know in the future too when these are going to go live, if you haven't yet, hit that bell. Make sure you hit the bell as well as subscribe because that way you'll get notifications when we're about to go live and be able to join in the chats and join the night gang.
I actually think that the bell has a drop-down menu now where you have to choose a specific level of notifications.
Yeah, so you can pick how often you want to be reminded or how you want to be reminded, but it's a good way to keep notified if we're about to go live. So
yeah,
I love it. That'll do it, and I'll probably see you guys tonight.
Okay. See you later.
Have a good one. Bye.